Welcome to Speaking Cinema, Serious Movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast coming to you live from the dark side of the universe in a rusty old space station floating above Hollywood, California. Listen to us Jibber Jabber on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and iTunes. Subscribe on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Speaking Cinema.
Whatever you like.
Of those platforms that we've listed.
And in fact, do all of them.
Yeah, whatever.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh no, it doesn't matter. I am your host, Master Control Mr. Jibber Jabber. With me today, my monkey in a spacesuit, Kevin.
Woo-hoo.
This week on the Jibber Jabber, Bring Him Home, 2015's The Martian, starring Matt Damon, Jessica Chastain, Kate Mara, Jeff Daniels, Michael Pena, Kristen Wiig, Sean Bean, Donald Glover. Directed by Ridley Scott, with the screenplay by Drew Goddard, based on the novel by Andy Ware. Produced by Scott Free Productions and Genre Films. Distributed by 20th Century Fox. If you're not familiar, during a manned mission to Mars, astronaut Mark Whitney, Matt Damon, is presumed dead after a fierce storm and is left behind by his crew. But Whitney has survived and finds himself stranded and alone on a hostile planet. With only meager supplies, he must draw upon his ingenuity, wit, and spirit to subsist and find a way to signal to Earth that he is alive. The Martian.
Stacked cast for a movie about a guy who's alone.
It is. It is. It is.
It's not like All Is Lost, where it's Robert Redford and that's it.
Yeah, and fuck off.
Yep.
I never saw Castaway, but that didn't have that many people in it either. Right?
Yeah, not very many.
Drew Goddard was originally set to direct this film as well as write it, but got caught up in the pre-production for the now defunct Sinister Six over at Sony. Ridley Scott then read the script, and it became his next project. The Spider-Man franchise takes another casualty.
Yep. That, hoo boy. Sony's plans really got scuttled with the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
You know, who played Spider-Man?
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield, another casualty.
Yep.
And then the girl who played the movies that are like your Dauntless and your fucking, you know what I'm saying?
Who are you talking about?
It's these hold on.
No idea who you're referring to. Not Emma Stone. That's your girl.
Divergent.
Oh, Shailene Woodley.
Shailene Woodley was supposed to be the Black Cat character. She was supposed to be in the Spider-Man movie. They cut her out.
Yep.
So it's like, and then she's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to come back. And it's like, really?
What a mess.
Yeah, so that Sony and that whole situation, man, that is Spider-Man. It's no good. It's no good. Filming for the Mars exteriors took place in Jordan. Ridley Scott loves fucking shooting in like
He loves North Africa, man. Yeah. It's good landscapes. Good landscape. He shoots in Morocco a lot.
That's fair.
I think he has a house there. I believe his partner, his wife, his female partner is from Morocco, I believe.
Shot in Jordan in the Wadi Rum, a iconic landscape that also served for the backdrop of Once in Arabia and other Mars-based films. I love that, Mars-based films. Red Planet and The Last Days of Mars, but not Ghosts of Mars.
No.
The interior sets were filmed at a studio in Budapest because it was tall and large. And Ridley's preferred stages in London were taken up by those goddamn Star Wars kids. Star Wars franchise taking another casualty. Jake Lloyd.
What happened, man? What happened?
NASA was consulted heavily in the making of this movie. In fact, the filmmakers could not depict NASA without their strict approval and had to show they were committed to representing scientific truth and taking the subject seriously. This is a nice change of pace from Ridley. Nice change of pace from Exodus, Gods, and Kings. Kaboom.
Getting back to a little sci-fi here, Ridley.
As of this recording, The Martian is playing in theaters. Go see it. Buy your tickets online. Get there. Park. Have a little time. Walk into the movie theater. Enjoy your movie.
Get to the ArcLight, have a drink, and some snackies.
Yeah. You know, maybe eat dinner
Like
before.
some good snacks, like chicken wings. Not like Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. Maybe eat beforehand, you know, and you know, you don't need the movie theater snacks. You're okay.
Try a new place. Explore.
Yeah.
Expand.
Why not?
Be better.
Chipotle. Give it a shot. Have you heard of this movie, Kev?
Sure have. Heard about it a long time ago. Heard of the book and started seeing the posters. And of course, with Ridley's name on it, you know me. I love Ridley Scott. was immediately intrigued by it.
Yeah, I heard about this. I don't know when I heard about it. I know that there was like people were talking about the footage. They saw an early trailer. It seems like I don't think it's out of his wheelhouse, but it's definitely something that for some reason I feel like it's caught people. We'll see what happens, but I feel like it's caught some people's attention. Like, this is an interesting idea for Ridley Scott. It's going to premiere at TIFF this year, right? The Toronto International Film Festival.
Yep, that's where it's going to
coming up as of this recording.
Yeah, sometime mid-September. So that's going to be its big premiere, and that should be hopefully build the buzz and get everybody to go see it.
And I feel like the buzz is good already.
Like, people are really excited for it.
And I would think that people would be a little bit more shitty given Interstellar came out and Matt Damon's playing a scientist in both movies, which is very weird. Like, Matt Damon, I mean, maybe he just couldn't say no to these opportunities, but, you know. And
it's hard to say when, did he start shooting this before Interstellar was even a thing?
Right.
Or, like, because his part in Interstellar is kind of small. Mm-hmm. Maybe he shot that, then shot The Martian before Interstellar, before there's this kind of backlash.
Maybe he wants to secretly be an astronaut.
Maybe.
Have you read this book, The Martian, by Andy Weir?
Have not, but I'm going to seek it out. I try to, when there's a movie like this, based on a book, going to be a big movie, I try to find the book and get it read before the movie comes out. It's like me, one of those snobs that says, I read the book before the movie came out.
I think I'm going to let it go, and I think I will, if the movie's really good, I'll probably go back and read the book, but yeah, I'm not really going to read that book.
That's fine.
Yeah, nothing against it.
Perfectly fine.
I hear it's good, but I know that we're going to see this movie, so I want to go into it spoiler-free.
All right, that's cool.
Do you read a lot of books? Do you believe that, speaking of your film snobbery, do you believe that books are often better than the movie, or what do you think?
I do read as much as I can. I wish I had a little more time to read, but I think I'm someone who kind of reads books a little slower because I like to kind of soak in all the words and all that. And I think when people say, I think it's such a common criticism, oh, the book was better. I think what they're really saying is the movie could have been more like the book. In just that it could have been an exact interpretation instead of them. Like, if they see any perceived change as a negative. Like, the book was some tome that did it correctly, And I really disagree with that. I think filmmakers, some stuff works better in books, some stuff works better in movies. And it takes a smart filmmaker to realize, somebody sitting there thinking for 20 minutes in a book, you can have a whole chapter of somebody sitting on a rock thinking about stuff, but you can accomplish that in one shot, that kind of thing. So I think it's an easy criticism, it's a cop-out criticism, and I think it's unfair to movies that are adapted from books.
I agree with that, and I think that's one thing that happens. Another thing that happens is that books are really good about getting in a character's head, because you could go with complete exposition in a book, and that's totally fine, as long as it's written in a way that is poetic, you know what I mean? You can just say, Stephen was walking down the street, he felt sad in this moment, blah, 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 right? And just stuff that if you said in a movie would just be the absolute bane of your existence, but you get away with it in a book. While a movie is more beneficial because you can have more of a space, right, where you don't know what everyone's thinking, where there's more implication and more you know what I mean. What do you think that meant? You know what I mean? So I think that they're different experiences, and there's it's weird to me that movies always go to books for inspiration for source material, where it's like there's such different mediums. You'd think that they would go to something that is less expositional.
I think a book has more of a built-in audience, though. It's like you get the
That's
people,
true.
you
That's
get people
true.
that read it, and you have, if this thing sold 15 million copies, I don't know if anything these days sells that. That's a likely 15 million people who are going to go see your movie.
Right. Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. So,
yeah, the marketing element of that is
based on the best-selling novel, based on the New York Times bestseller, based on the Da Vinci Code. Not sure why anybody would want to see that movie.
Yeah, well. Also, to answer this question, the first question, do you read a lot of books? I have been slacking off recently reading physical books. I still read physical books.
I do as well.
Because I have not bought an e-reader yet, but I probably would go back and forth if I had them both. I listen to a lot of books. I have an Audible account, so I'll download a book and listen to that. Right now I'm listening to The Making of The Princess Bride by the dude
nice.
who's the guy who starred in Princess Bride?
Cary Elwes.
He wrote it, and and then everyone like when it's like they interview people for the book, like those like Billy Crystal, blah 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 blah, and then Billy Crystal will have his take on it, and they actually got these people to do it.
That's
so
cool.
Rob Reiner's like, "Hey Billy, how's it going?" You know, it's pretty good.
I am currently reading Motley Crue's The Dirt.
Yeah, I want to borrow that when you're done.
I will give it to you.
I want to read Lemmy's book.
I think the documentary covers him pretty well.
Interesting.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, the Dirt is just a filthy, dirty book, and it's kind of fascinating. Filthy dirty.
Any book that you're reading right now, or that you've read that you like to see turned into a movie in the future?
Upton Sinclair's The Jungle, I think, is just ripe for making a book out of it, or making a movie out of it, and I don't know how that one slipped through the cracks. So many other classics, Great Gatsby, even Upton Sinclair's Oil got made into There Will Be Blood, but I think that movie, when you take out kind of the last chapter, which is just very nakedly like a political protest, I think it's a really good story, and I'd like to see that turned into a movie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I mean, that book basically got the FDA created because it's about the horrible conditions in packing plants. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that last chapter is so nakedly about that I wonder if that just turns people off.
And I mean, you can find a story in it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Different.
There's definitely a story. You could make it an immigrant story.
So a book I read recently is Night Films. I want to get the author's name here.
Night Films.
Marisha Pessel's book. It's a movie about it's a psychological thriller. It's a movie about basically
a novel.
Sorry, it's a novel. I'm fucking this up. It's a novel about a movie maker, a fictional movie maker who's basically Dario Argento, and a lot of like the Gallo. He's like basically an amalgamation of all the Gallo filmmakers.
Uh-huh.
And it's just a really interesting movie where it's about obsession with pop culture. It's about the blurring lines between reality and fiction. It's about mysteries. It's about people's obsessions. And it's just a really well done, well written movies, and a lot of cool fake Gallo names, like All the Colors of the Dark is like All the Colors of the Night. And, just really cool shit.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah, I would recommend. And you don't need to. Emily, my girlfriend, who has never seen a Gallo movie in her life and will go to her grave or feature robot body, never watching one. Liked it, so I don't think it's an alienating
It's not a niche.
Yeah, it's not a niche kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
So we've talked a lot about Ridley Scott and his films, in his style. If the listener would like to hear those thoughts, Kingdom of Heaven episode is available. Your local podcatcher. Scroll down, go to SoundCloud. It'll be there. Are you excited he's taking this project? What's your opinion of him? Has it changed since we did our last episode?
I watched Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Oh, did you?
Since our last episode, and I was like, "What are you doing, Ridley?"
Did you tell me about that?
What?
Did you tell me about that? Or
I did tell you about that. I don't think it's on record yet, but I was just stunned at how amateurishly made that movie was. And
his heart's not into it.
And it came from my boy Ridley. It was kind of, but I do think there's a return to kind of more alien territory and not so much Prometheus territory. Although, as I defend Prometheus, but it's not such like big heady sci-fi, supernatural. Why are we here? It's very human sci-fi of this guy's an astronaut. He's stranded. I think he'll do something interesting with it.
Yeah, I think my opinion of him hasn't changed since our last episode. I am looking forward to this movie, and I think I want what you just said, which is that like I'm interested right now in a human story. Seems to be a survival story. This story you could take place in a jungle. It could take place in the tundra, in a desert, but instead it's taking place in the near future in space, but thematically is about those things, which is interesting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It'd be really cool.
It's interesting where you said Prometheus. He's confirmed, I think this very weekend, he confirmed that Prometheus 2 is his next movie.
Yep.
And that motherfucker's, he's turned 78 this year, and he's just gonna keep going. He's not gonna stop.
He's like the Lemmy of movie makers. He's just, that guy's gonna die on set. And
I think pop culturally, I think there's the Rolling Stones are still making rock and roll music. It's like, but I think we're moving away from that. It's like, dude, if you can still do this and you want to, why would you stop?
Yeah.
Right? If you love doing something and you don't want to stop doing it, because I can totally understand, like Sean Connery, right? He's like, listen, I want to play golf in like drink lemonade.
He wants to live in the Bahamas,
Yeah, like, God bless, dude. You fucking earned your money, do it, But if you're like, I like making movies, it's like, fuck, if you can still do it and they're still good.
Yeah, if your ultimate goal is to spend the rest of your life on the golf course, then by all means make as much money as possible and quit. But yeah, it's like Ridley he loves being on set. Lemmy likes being on stage. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards like writing blues songs.
Right.
It's like, if you can do it, if you still love doing it, do it.
Why not? Are you a fan of Matt Damon? His last few movies haven't fared too well at the box office. Elysium, Promised Land, We Bought a Zoo, Hereafter, The Green Zone. Underperformed based on their budgets. Green Zone, that was probably the biggest one. $100 million, only pulled in $35 million.
Oof.
Is he not a draw, or is it bad picks? Is he better in a supporting role? Because he was, in True Grit and Interstellar. Do we need him back with Ben Affleck? And, Good Will Hunting 2, Hunting Season Begins. what do we think about Matt Damon?
I think he can kind of... He's kind of like Rice Krispies. Nutritional, gets the job done, but they're nothing special. It's you can put strawberries on it and it's pretty good. You can put some bananas on it and it's pretty good. But he kind of just can do a little. He can be good in anything, but he's not great in everything.
Yeah. That's an interesting take on him. I don't think I agree. I mean, I think also a thing should be said here is that you are not a fan of the Bourne movies, and I like the Bourne movies.
Correct.
So that also influences it.
But I do love Good Will Hunting. I think he's great in that.
Yeah,
he's great in True Grit. Mm-hmm. He has a lot of great roles under his belt, but as just a leading man, I don't find him very interesting.
It's tough because Elysium, even the director said, like, hey, we fucked that one up pretty bad. And so it's like, how can you save something if the guy who wrote and produced it and directed it admits that the concept wasn't good?
And he said that after he secured the Alien 5 job.
Bam. We Bought a Zoo was a really good movie that just no one got behind.
Was it good?
Yeah, but it got buried. I mean, yeah, I
heard nothing but just like, this is total schlock.
No. There's a great scene in the beginning where he's like a reporter, and he's interviewing like some Sandinista like terrorist kind of guy, and he's like, what do you think about violence? He's like, the violence will continue as long as we need a blah 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 blah. And he's like, okay, what's your favorite movie? And the guy's like, Toy Story. And he looked at his boys. He's like, Part 2. And it's like, I'm like, all right, we're in good territory right here.
I'll check it out.
It's a fun movie. So I don't think that he's not a draw. I think that people go up and down, and his True Grit and his Interstellar stuff shows you that he's still good at doing stuff. And I mean, the trailer from this movie, he really sold. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this. It's like, I'm in. You know what I mean? So I do like Matt Damon. He seems like a good guy. He has fun with himself. You know what I mean? Like he does some charity thing where it was about getting plumbing for like third world countries, and he had this funny like fake press conference where he's like, to raise awareness, I'm going on a bathroom strike. I will not be using a bathroom from now until like for a month from now. And then like all these comedians were like playing reporters, and they're like, I think this is the wrong kind of attention. And he's like, nope. And he was on Entourage, and he kind of parodied himself.
Yeah. I mean, he's always thought of as like the poster boy for liberal Hollywood Goomba shit, but he's able to make fun of himself in that vein, while also getting stuff done.
Right, and I mean, famously, he thought that the Matt Damon from Team America was funny. Yep. And I feel like, he is liberal and stuff, but I don't feel like he's Sean Penning it up where he's making speeches about it at like award shows. He's kind of like, listen, homie, I'm rich and I'll fucking spend my money on whatever I want to, and if it happens to be, giving poor people toilets, like, you're kind of a dick if you're like, he's helping too many people. What a dick, So I like him. He's kind of going through a little bit of a soft spot, I think, in his career, a little bit. Not too much though, because there's still stuff to love in there. Like, if he becomes the secondary dude, like whatever, I'm cool with that. But maybe he's not.
We'll see.
Also, he's doing that Project Greenlight again.
Yeah, bringing that back. So helping young filmmakers realize their dream.
Mm-hmm. And his best bud, somewhat, Ben Affleck. He went down and came back up. So are we looking forward to Matt Damon playing like an older superhero in the future? Perhaps a Wally West, the Flash.
Oh boy. That'd be fun. Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
He's gained a few pounds. He's a little bit slower.
He's the slightly less fast Flash. It's not a catchy name,
but it's accurate. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get into a game of rapid fire
Let's
here?
get into some rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Matt Damon in space. Jibber. Jupiter or Saturn?
I always like Saturn. Those rings are enchanting.
I do-
9 moons.
I do like Saturn, but I feel like, a lot of asteroid strikes there. I'm not a big fan of asteroid
Alright.
strikes. So I will say Saturn as well because it's very evocative.
Yep.
Jupiter, I don't even know what that is. Are you gaseous? I can't remember. You know what I mean? Neil deGrasse Tyson or Carl Sagan?
Tyson. He's the best.
I'm going to say Tyson too because he's our Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
And there's no hate against Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan is now a term that I'm throwing around as a pop culture scientific mind. You know what I mean? So it's like, the next generation will have a new Carl Sagan. But, so we're measuring, the unit of measurement is Carl Sagan, but our Carl Sagan is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No question.
Tang or Dippin' Dots?
Dippin' Dots. Love me some Dippin' Dots.
Okay, I'm going to say this, and I don't want you to be offended. Fuck Dippin' Dots. Ice cream in the future for the last 40 fucking years, but it's never around anywhere. It's not the future is now, and Dippin' Dots are not here. Dippin' Dots.
I didn't know you were so passionate about
The
Dippin'
future is now Choco Taco. That's the future.
Overrated.
Yeah, totally overrated. It's a great idea, but it's executed too poorly. The Choco Taco. It's like the waffle is always very spongy.
Yep.
Oh, I need a crisp waffle. I need you to make that for me now.
Like they do with waffle cones.
Yeah.
Come on, homies.
Yeah.
Come on.
I need that crunch of the waffle cone. Dip it. I don't even know. You dip it in chocolate. You gotta make them fresh. I don't know what you gotta do. I'm not a scientist.
Fill it with Dippin' Dots.
So also, if Dippin' Dots were like 70% cheaper, I'd probably have no problem with Dippin' Dots. Matt Damon, best leading role. Jason Bourne, Will Hunting.
Will Hunting.
I'm gonna say Jason Bourne, but it's a preference thing.
I think that movie holds a special place, and me and my friends quote it a lot, randomly.
Best Matt Damon supporting role, Private Ryan or LaBeouf?
LaBeouf from True Grit. I'm going with LaBeouf. I think he's fantastic in that movie.
I don't want to take anything away from Private Ryan, but I'm gonna have to go with LaBeouf too because there's just too many fucking funny lines in that movie to ignore.
Plus, he's kind of a puss in Private Ryan. Kind of a puss.
Also, there's no option here. The best Matt Damon cameo is in was it Road Trip or Euro Trip? Road Trip.
Euro Trip.
Euro Trip.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. Scotty doesn't know.
Good in the Zero Theorem as well. Terry Gilliam's latest movie. Yeah. It's like a cameo role. So.
But it has to go because he's like the lead singer of a band, and it's just like Scotty doesn't know, and that shit's still funny.
You gotta watch Euro Trip. I have not seen that in a long
time. I think we're gonna be like, this Matt Damon shit's great, and then the rest of it's Michelle Trachtenberg. Like, she's too young to be playing this role. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it gets a little creepy,
and toned down, but whatever. Best scene chewing villain Matt Damon had to serve: John Malkovich in Rounders or Jack Nicholson in The Departed?
Jack Nicholson in The Departed.
Yeah, it has to be Jack Nicholson because that character was just Bobo for bonkers.
Sucking on their peckers. One of the best lines.
Black holes or asteroids?
Black holes.
Black holes. Because also, there's no fear of a black hole. It's like Lake Placid. Like, just stay away from that fucking lake.
Don't go there.
And then, in terms of space stuff, it's like, that's like 100 million light years away. So, like, I mean, very little chance of you just getting too close to it. But an asteroid, I mean, wiped out the dinosaurs, homie, stressful.
Come for us, maybe.
Don't like it. Hemorrhoids or asteroids?
I'm going with asteroids. I'd rather have the planet disintegrate than have a lump on my butt.
Hey, that's your choice.
Right in your butthole.
Paranoid android or suburban homesick alien?
Suburban homesick alien, fantastic song.
I'm gonna go paranoid android, but
also a great song.
I had a soft spot in my heart for Radiohead.
Chris Martin of Coldplay said I'd give my left nut to write a song as good as Paranoid Android.
Oh, interesting.
So there you go.
So then he proceeded to do a bunch of coke.
Chris Martin has both nuts. Presumably.
Curiosity rover or International Space Station?
I like the Curiosity rover on Mars. You know it sings to itself on its birthday?
Why? Just because?
Yeah.
Because they can.
Yeah, because it can. The year of the day that lands, it sings "Happy Birthday" to itself on Mars.
Interesting. I'll go International Space Station. That's more the direction I want to go. You know what I mean? Get some people up
World
there.
working together.
World working together. Get some people up there. Let's fucking make some space shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's cool. I dig it.
Futurama or The Simpsons? This is not a fair question.
Except that I'm going to pick Futurama.
Oh, I'll go The Simpsons.
I think Futurama because it's more consistent. Futurama never had a down period. Simpsons is legendary. The highs are high, but the lows are low.
But very quickly, if you look at all your favorite episodes of The Simpsons, it's like seasons 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. It's like that 100 episodes is like your favorite episodes.
Yep.
Those highs are high.
But Futurama started at a very high level.
So what this movie, based on a book edition, which is better, the book or the movie, or neither, haven't seen it, whatever. So we're going to rapid fire through these.
Last.
Watchmen.
The book is great, but I think the movie did a good job adapting it. But I will pick the book, ultimately.
I think the movie is flawed, but the book is so fucking dense, I think it has to be the movie, because
Yeah.
I've watched the movie the whole way through, but I've never read that book the whole way through.
Really? You never finished it?
I read all of Rorschach's things, and I went back and read all the other things, and I've never read the pirate stuff.
Okay. Yeah, the pirate stuff is kind of...
I just couldn't care about this.
Also, I think the movie did the ending much better.
Interesting.
Overall, so.
Controversial. The Great Gatsby.
I would say neither is good, as I've talked about on this podcast before.
I think the book is better.
The book is definitely better. That movie is hot garbage.
No Country for Old Men.
I'm going with the movie on this one.
Never saw the book. I never read the book, so I can't comment. Although I did really like that movie.
I would say the movie is almost a straight adaptation of the book. But I think it does things a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. The Road.
I'm going to go with the book on that one.
I read the book, didn't watch the movie. I wouldn't want to see that as a movie. You know what I mean?
I think they kind of stumble in the movie in a few scenes. So the book gets the tone better.
Oh, interesting. To Kill a Mockingbird.
I'm going with the book on that one.
I'm going to go with the book too, but they're both great. And it's one of those rare, especially in early Hollywood, it's one of the rare adaptations of a book that is actually worth a shit.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Harry Potter.
I think the movies condense, get the story down to what it really needs to be. Although the books do have interesting mythology.
The first movie is way bobo.
Oh, yeah, the
way,
first
way
two
bobo.
movies, I'm even gonna say.
Well, at least the second movie, they started spending more money and making it look more or whatever. But I agree with you. And then I think when you get to like 5, they start compressing too much, or it's like now we're not showing the Quidditch stuff and now whatever. So ultimately, it's gonna have to be the books, but the movies are very good.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Movies.
I'm gonna say movies too. I can't read those books. It's just so dense.
I've always said they're fantasies that leave nothing to your imagination. He describes everything. It annoys the shit out of me.
Princess Bride.
The movie.
Inherent Vice.
This one's tough because I read the book and saw the movie. I think the book is almost impossible to adapt, but the movie pulled it off. So
Wow.
I'm going to go with the movie.
Doing the impossible. I've never seen it. The Shining.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah,
a million times.
A million times the movie.
That book is impossible.
And also kind of like, yeah, I'm a bad guy, but I'm not that bad of a guy. It's like, no, you're a bad guy.
You're pretty bad.
Misery.
I'm going to go with the movie on that one.
Yeah, movie. I never read the book. I'm not really a big fan of Stephen King.
Me neither.
Stand By Me.
The movie. Although that short story has some interesting stuff in it.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Definitely, I'm going to go with the Fincher version of the movie.
I'm going to go with the Swedish version of the movie.
Right. That book is nigh impossible.
Really?
It's very dense.
You know, if you listen to it on audiobook, it's easier because then all the like Swedish names are a lot easier to it's easier to deal with. Because someone else is saying them, like Blomqvist. Hunger Games.
Didn't like the movies, never read the book.
Didn't like the book, liked the movie.
Yeah, interesting.
A Clockwork Orange.
I think 2 very different experiences, but I really do. I think the movie is great. Cinema, it got me into cinema, but that book is fantastic.
Never read the book, but I like the movie.
It's completely written in the Drew slang speak. It's really quite fascinating.
Crazy. American Psycho.
Never read the book. Not crazy about the movie.
Oh, really?
Actually.
I love the movie.
I think it's good for what it is. It has good scenes.
Fight Club.
I'm going with the movie. Even Chuck Palahniuk goes with the movie.
Yeah, because they're the same. They're basically the same, except for the The book has a stupider ending.
Yep. And Chuck Palahniuk was like, I felt embarrassed by my book after watching that movie. He's like, they did such a better job on it.
Gone with the Wind.
Haven't read the book. All I remember the movie being extremely long and boring.
I haven't seen either, but my girlfriend read the book and liked it a lot. It's interesting, and I'll be very brief, but it's interesting because people are like, oh, it's racist, and I think at one point in my life I probably called it a racist book too. But what it really is doing is showing you why someone would justify slavery to themselves because their whole life is based off of, right? Mm-hmm. It's like if we lose slavery, we lose everything that we've ever built because we won't be rich anymore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like, it's an interesting insight into like humanizing the thought process on that.
I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah.
Now I'm older and wiser.
Older and wiser. History of Violence.
Do you know that's a comic book? And the movie's better anyway.
Yeah, I really like that movie. Jumanji. Book.
Book. Definitely book.
Come on. Willy Wonka.
I like the book better than either version.
I've never read the book, and I only think I've seen the newer version, which sucks. There Will Be Blood.
Definitely the movie. That book was indecipherable. I tried, and I was like, fuck this.
Last one, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
The movie.
Movie.
It's got Danny DeVito.
Come on.
The movie.
Come on. Any last minute notes, or
we're gonna wait till Martian comes out in theaters, and that opening weekend we'll have our thoughts coming up.
Here we go in a couple weeks. And we're back.
We're back.
Just saw The Martian a couple days ago. We went to the ArcLight in Culver City.
The 8 p.m. Thursday night showing, which I love those showings.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yep.
Just
as a grown man who has to go to work the next morning, those are so good.
Yeah, it's the midnight showing for when you are a responsible adult.
Yep, love it.
So we saw it there. I'd say like a three quarters full house, right? So it was a good crowd.
It was a very good crowd. Very receptive.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely ready to be there.
To recap, The Martian movie opens up with NASA astronauts part of the Ares 3 manned mission to Mars, gathering some soil samples on the surface of the red planet. Day 6, or Sol, as is referred to in the movie.
S-O-L, Sol.
6 of the mission. A freak storm hits their compound. They need to evacuate the surface of the planet. Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon, is hit by a piece of debris. He gets lost during the storm. They look for him. They can't find him. His life support system says that he is dead. It's because it's been damaged. They leave on a spaceship and go back to Earth, head back to Earth. He wakes up on the planet, heads back to their compound. No one knows he's alive. He's alone. He uses his knowledge as a botanist to grow potatoes, and inside the mission, the artificial habitat that he's living in, anticipating that he will need to survive for at least 3 years before the next manned mission lands on Mars. And he keeps a lot of video logs. There are cameras literally everywhere on his spacesuit, in the space car, in the space bathroom, everywhere.
GoPro getting some
Real
prime product placement in this one.
After reviewing some satellite photos of Mars, NASA engineers Vincent Kapoor and Mindy Park realize that Watney has survived and immediately start planning to establish contact with him. Watney locates the Pathfinder probe, defunct since 1997, and uses it to communicate with Earth, eventually restoring communications to NASA via a email-style interface. The plan becomes to have Watney sit tight on Mars and have the next Ares mission, number 4, pick him up. JPL creates a probe to send him supplies, but due to the rush nature of creating the probe and the rocket and everything, it explodes upon launch. China, turns out, has a rocket standing by, so they offer to help. The whole world at this point is riveted by this story. Watney suffers his own disaster when the airlock of his habitat explosively decompresses, killing his crops, reducing his projected food supply. He can no longer create food, so he has to rely on what they prepackaged and only the potatoes that he has grown. Runs out of ketchup in a very scene that is very hilarious but sad. Meanwhile, Rich Purnell, a astrodynamicist, comes up with a plan. He wants the Ares 3 crew, the one that abandoned Watney on accident, to extend their mission using Earth's gravity to speed up, intercepting the resupply probe on the rotation, and then come back to Mars and pick them up. This is eventually decided upon after a lot of back and forth. Watney, for part of this plan, would need to make it to the Ares 4 landing site, which the infrastructure has already been delivered on a previous mission. So basically, there's a rocket just waiting to be launched into space. After 7 months, Watney modifies his rover vehicle and drives it all the way to the Ares 4 base. He strips the Ares 4 launch vehicle down to save weight, using his spacesuit to protect himself. As the Ares 3 crew orbit Mars, they launch his vehicle remotely. He doesn't have enough altitude, so they have to figure out a way to get to him. They rupture an airlock to do so in a very dramatic scene where the airlock shoots them towards him, and then they grab him. He is rescued. They return to Earth. Watney begins day one of his new life, taking a position at NASA as an instructor for new candidates for the astronaut program, using his experiences as problem-solving lessons.
What 3 words you use a lot in that one? Figure it out.
Yeah.
This movie is about figuring it out, solving problems, using everything you know, and getting by on your knowledge.
So how did we figure out this movie, Kev? What'd you think?
I've had a couple days to ruminate on it. It's a fantastic film. I love it. It's great. I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing movie, and I think it kind of lives and dies on the tone, because it handles a really dark subject, which is dying horribly alone, and it handles that premise and that situation with a smile and with humor, sometimes sardonic, but it's a real can-do attitude. I think there's the scene where, this movie is just not going to let you down, is Watney is stranded. He hasn't made contact with Earth. He's watching, he's like playing on a computer, listening to music, watching stuff. He's like counting potatoes and just doing random things. And then he just says, "I'm not," out loud, apropos of nothing, "I'm not going to die here." And then you know that this movie is on your side. You know what I mean?
To me, that's the line of the movie. A lot of people, the line of the movie is going to be, "I need to science the shit out of this," which is a great line.
Great line.
But I think that's the real key line of this movie. I'm not going to die here. Yeah. And I love that it's early. Mm-hmm. It sets the tone of like, we're not going to go through this whole fatalist episode of like, oh, woe is me, I'm going to die, but then kind of finds his spirit saying, I'm not going to die here.
Right.
Like, that's not the arc of the movie. Mm-hmm. The arc is he boldly states,
doing it.
I'm not going to die here, within like a day of realizing he's alone.
1,000% agree with you.
And then it goes and does its thing.
Yeah, it's a story of hope from the get out. He doesn't need to find his hope. The first moment we see him on Mars alone, right, when we know that he's still alive, he wakes up, his suit has very low oxygen, and he makes it back to the habitat that he's living in, and
with a metal rod in his stomach.
Right, and he does surgery on himself, or at least Scott loves self-surgery scenes. We'll get that in a minute. Yep. He does surgery on himself, and whatever, and then so it's very tense, and he's doing it, and it hurts, and he's figuring out he's trying to figure out if he got all of it, and it's all shown, and he's not saying anything, and the first word he says after that is "fuck," and it's played for a laugh, and it's then this movie is about this guy doing things. Like from the second he wakes up, it's like, oh crap, I'm stuck on this planet. I don't have any oxygen. I gotta get out of here. I gotta untangle myself from this wreckage. I gotta get back into my thing. I gotta get some oxygen. I gotta take off my suit. I gotta do surgery on myself. I have to do. And they never let that spirit really get away from you. I mean, naturally he has some things that go wrong, and it makes him sad.
Yeah,
it
wouldn't be much of a movie if everything went right all the time. That does make for a very interesting screenplay.
Although I will say that there was a moment where Jeff Daniels is like, I don't like our timetable. That means that nothing can go wrong. And I'm like, oh, God, I don't want anything to go wrong. So this movie really had me. Also, there's a really interesting balance of... there's lots of scenes where he's doing like a I don't even want to make this comparison, but like a confessional kind of. Like he's talking directly to his camera, making an entry log. And that is balanced out with a lot of silent scenes too. So it's and it goes back to this Christ's really interesting tone where there's sometimes where he's being very literal, where he's telling you what has happened, what's going to happen, what his plan is. And then there's times where you just watch him build something and you're like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And then you realize that he's, building extra solar panels so his car can have more juice or something. Yep. You know what I mean? And I really like that a lot.
Yeah, it's different from another great film, All Is Lost, starring Robert Redford, where he's a guy on a boat stranded. And that movie, that's also another movie about trying to solve problems, but it does it in a very meditative, slow way. And this movie really clips along at a really fast pace in these scenes that, it's just him building something, but it's just moving with this verve that's a lot different than a lot of survival movies, you know?
Yeah, and I don't. We don't really talk about this in the first half, but I don't really like survival movies. I don't like how negative they are. I don't like they're making one about the Chilean miners. And I'm like, I just don't. That story doesn't mean anything to me, and it's interesting because I never even thought of that going into this movie, and I'm glad I didn't because it might have made me not want to see it because this movie is not in that vein of like, The Perfect Storm or any kind of these movies where people
Castaway.
Castaway.
Definitely. Oh God, Castaway.
You know what I mean? It's funny. It's how and what I think what you take away with this movie is this is how you would want to look at any challenge in your life, right? Like any big, small life, death. This guy says, "Hey, I'm totally fucked. There's probably never been anyone in a situation as bad as this one where I'm alone, 500 million miles away from Earth, in an inhospitable environment. It's like a piece of plastic separates me from certain death. But you know what? I'm gonna fight it with a smile, and I think that is very enjoyable."
Uh-huh.
So in the first half, we talked about this a little bit. Now that we've seen the movie, I want to revisit. Production made sure that this film felt scientifically accurate and truthful. Do we think that this came across on screen, Kev? Do we think that they believe in what they're doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I never got a sense of like, oh, that wouldn't work, And I don't know the first thing about space travel,
right,
or anything like that. But yeah, I'm sure you can probably fudge some stuff,
right,
and that's totally fine. But just make it in a way that at least I can believe it.
Right, and they never talk.
It's funny that all these critics, a lot of critics are saying things like, "Oh, the science is a little questionable." It's like, did you go to NASA? Did you work there? It's like critics like to think they're these experts on everything, no matter what movie they're watching. It's like, and this one, I never felt. You never had an eye-rolling moment of like, "Oh, there's no way that would work."
Right.
Everything is really grounded in a very believable reality. Whether it was or not, I'm pretty sure it was because Andy Weir, the guy who wrote the book, talked a lot about. He did all the research to make sure everything would be right. So.
Well, in the beginning of the movie, there's one of the scientific inaccuracies is that even if something was really going really fast, like in terms of like wind, without atmosphere, it doesn't have any context, so it wouldn't affect. If there was no atmosphere and wind moving at like 200 miles an hour, it wouldn't really affect you. But it doesn't matter. It's never. It's what you just said. It never violates your ability to suspend disbelief. They never ask you to take a gigantic leap. Right? It's like Mars is cold at night. That's all you need to know. And then so when his crops are ruined because the atmosphere blows out and
they're ruined immediately.
Right, they're ruined immediately, and you're not like fake. You're just like, oh no, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the movie really respects its audience, except for one scene where there's a news report that we're watching, and it's like, why the fuck are we watching this news report?
Which scene is that?
There's a scene towards the end where it's just like you're looking at like some CNN person do like a news report.
Oh yeah, but I think that was more to show the world, the big news networks are all doing this.
But if that's as insulting to your intelligence as this movie gets. Sure, and that is and that's, so mild compared to other movies.
That's a nitpick, that's for sure.
Yeah, Yep. And we'll get to that.
It's not a Sandra Bullock flying through space with a fire extinguisher.
Let's hold on. And also, there's a lot of cool stuff that goes unstated too. Like, at one point, 7 months elapses, and he's been living off a supply of potatoes and like a couple of like ration meals that they have, and his teeth look all fucked up. He has this big beard, and his body is covered in like what looks like rashes or sores.
And he's really skinny.
And you're realizing that he has scurvy. He probably ran out of toothpaste at one point, and his teeth are falling out because of scurvy. And yeah, he's just fucked up. You know what I mean? They don't say like we got to get to him quick. He has scurvy. They're just like, listen, if you're familiar with what scurvy is, otherwise you just kind of get like, yeah, he's been isolated for such a long time.
Yep.
He's just not in a good place.
He's definitely run out of toothpaste. He's definitely, yeah. It's like it's not gonna be perfect, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they do a really good job, and yeah, the bruises are just, I think, the daily life of just living on the harsh terrain of Mars. It's like, and it'd be really obvious that he's gonna get beat up just being so physical every single day.
So this is our boy Ridley Scott, no stranger to this podcast. He has a very diverse filmography. I mean, his second movie was Aliens, which is easily argued one of the best horror movies of all time, and maybe one of the best movies of all time. So he's had a really long filmography of a lot of different kinds of movies. Where do you think this fits in?
Ridley's back, man. He's. Let the dog
it's fine. It's fine.
We have a dog here today with us here on the Jibber.
Svendrick, he's not saying much. Yeah, don't look at me. So what do you think about Ridley Scott?
He's directing with the verve of a 20-year-old in this movie, man. He's reclaimed some kind of energy. This guy is, what, 74 years old?
Yeah,
And this movie, it clips along, it's fast, it's vibrant, it's funny. He's not making movies like an old man. You can tell he's really inspired by this.
And it's interesting because Tarantino said that he wants to retire before he's 60 because he doesn't want to be too old. But George Miller and Ridley Scott are showing like 70-year-olds making movies with, like the power of a 20-year-old. It's nuts.
Just absolute inspiration.
It's almost unbelievable. If I didn't know that he directed this, I would never think it was him.
It's inspiration mixed with master storytelling that you can only get through being in the industry that long and making that many movies, And I was, coming off of Exodus, Gods and Kings, which I think is one of Ridley's worst films, a movie that looked like it was no fun at all and was just kind of made going through the motions. Yeah, this one is a total turnaround. I hope it really reinvigorates him, reinvigorates his career. Not that his career's ever been down, but I think
you want him to keep up this level of energy.
Keep this level going. I mean, he has 10 more projects in the pipeline, as he always does.
Including Prometheus 2, a.k.a. Aliens...
Paradise Lost,
supposedly. And the sequel to Blade Runner.
Yep.
And another thing, if you saw the trailer or you read the book, you know that this is the story has a lot of humor. It's not a comedy, but there's a lot of adversity that's dealt with wit, and that's and I feel like that really worked.
And not just by Mark Watney, by everybody in the cast. It's like there's it's almost like not a Mel Brooks movie, but where everybody's funny.
Everyone gets their moment to be funny.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel forced at all.
Exactly. Not a real forced sitcom-y kind of funny where you're just stuffing a joke in somebody's mouth. It's like, this joke makes sense for that character to say it. This joke makes sense for... this character. It all works within all the
Drew Goddard, man, he can do it.
He's a hell of a screenwriter.
Can we give that guy just give him some stuff to do?
Don't give him Sinister Six. That's boring.
Well, he wants it still.
I mean, he wants it, but it's like...
Don't let him have it. He doesn't know what it's good for him.
He's wasted on that. It's like you had Cabin in the Woods, and now you got this. He's a hell of a screenwriter. So it's,
And so, coming off the characters, there's a lot of supporting characters, a lot of famous people in this movie. I feel like they're integrated in the story particularly well. And I don't know if this movie could have been just Mark Watney on Mars. I'm not really interested in that movie. What do you think?
Well, I just remember when the pre-production was happening, and I was first hearing about it, and then they were like, oh, Sean Bean is cast, and... Jeff Daniels and Kristen Wiig, and I was like, isn't this a movie about a guy alone on Mars? This seems like a really big cast.
Right.
And I think there's a potentially interesting movie where we just see his perspective and his half of the communication, but I think that gets really lost. That movie couldn't be as fun
as this movie.
No, not nearly. And it shows too with this big cast that Mark Watney is not the only guy with this spirit. It's a huge cast of people
Which is a better story.
It's a way better story of everybody can use their set of skills to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Chinese guy JPL, you've got Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, you got Mackenzie Davis, who is just, she works at Mission Control,
right?
But she's really, she's the one who discovers first
Watney's
of all
alive.
Watney, or something's going on Mars, and Watney's probably alive.
You got the whole crew, Jessica Chastain and all them. They're all cracking and being good, and they're like, dude, we got to go get him. We can't not. There's a scene where they're gonna let them not. Either they could choose to come home, and they're like, no, let's go get him. And that's a great scene. I think it wouldn't be as helpful a movie if we just stayed with Watney.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Do we think that Matt Damon, again, in the first half we talked about this, Matt Damon has had a weird track record as of late. What do you think does this put him back in flavor in your eyes? What do you think?
He kills it in this movie, man. He just... he not just being funny. He has a really big range of emotions, but he is... we have this big cast, but if you don't have a good Mark Watney, you don't have anything.
Right, and when he's sad, you feel terrible for him. And when he achieves something, you think that he's fucking God's gift to the whole world.
Yep.
So yeah,
when he's like, when he goes, I ran out of ketchup 7 days ago. That just hits hard.
Yeah,
you know?
you're like, no!
It's a funny line, but yeah, you're like, oh my god, he's eating dry potatoes. Poor man.
yeah, microwave dry potatoes,
crushed with Vicodin. Oh boy.
and I think the way Matt Damon plays this character, the way that everyone plays this character, kind of going back for that really quick, it's about the risks and rewards of exploring, and it's not a cautionary tale. This movie is not, hey, we shouldn't go to Mars. This movie is not, I mean, in a way, it's not even really about that. This movie is about, like, in your life, eventually, and it's kind of stated in the end of the movie, in your life, eventually, something will go wrong, and that is the point where you have to start, right? That's when you need to put the pedal to the metal and really figure out your life.
That's where the real problem solving happens, is when things aren't going right.
So this is the time in the podcast where we get into our 60 seconds worth of nitpicks. Things that bugged us during the movie, but only deserve seconds of our time. Ready, go.
I would like a little more out of Kristen Wiig. I thought she kind of didn't get a lot of time to get her character established.
Bigger actress than the role.
Yep.
The storm sneaks up very fast in the beginning of the movie. It's like, they just turn around and there it is. It's like, come on, guys.
Yep.
You guys have eyes.
Yeah. And same thing in that scene. It cuts really hard and they're all inside, and we didn't get the idea of like that there's two different places they need to be, like their living area and then their spaceship. So I thought that could have been communicated a little better, but again, a nitpick.
Yeah. Brief news footage scene, just not needed. You know, if in a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, that those 30 seconds could have been cut.
Sure, yeah, I can buy that.
I Will Survive ends this movie. That's fine. A lot of disco music in this movie. A lot of jokes about how disco music sucks. Europe's Final Countdown. Where was that?
It's a good point. Also, I like the Jessica Chastain's character. I'll save that for cool stuff. Never mind.
All right, you got 5 seconds here.
That's all I got.
All right, great. Right on time. So then, 60 seconds of cool stuff. This is the inverse of what we just did, where we just shout out some shit that's pretty cool. Go.
Got a great score from Harry Gregson Williams.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Kind of ragged on him in the Kingdom of Heaven episode, so
listen,
glad he's back.
Sometimes you have a good day at office, and sometimes you don't. Gorgeous photography. Mars looks huge. It looks like Mars. It doesn't look like anywhere on Earth. It looks great.
Can't tell what is CGI and what is a model. So the special effects, you're never thinking like, oh, what a great CGI shot. They use every tool.
Hilarious fatalism, faith in science, and faith in people.
Editing, fantastic. The space pirate gag, so good.
Yeah.
We'll expand on that later.
Really love self-surgery scenes. In unlike Prometheus, he didn't he didn't make us wait. We just got it in the beginning.
And it wasn't nearly as graphic.
And then great cursing where he, stitches himself up and he's just like, fuck.
Yep. Got 2 fucks in a PG-13 movie. Impressive. Sound design, again, phenomenal. This movie did not feel like it was 2.5 hours long at all.
Matt Damon still has it. Iron Man scene so good. 5 seconds, Kev.
So funny.
Yeah.
Ridley's funniest movie since Matchstick Man. Matchstick Man.
And what an honor it is to be.
Yep.
So, I mean, all in all, do you have any other talking points here? Or?
Yeah, this movie toes that really hard line to pull of art and commerce, and those tend to be the really greatest, best movies, I think. The ones that they're artfully made, they're extremely well crafted, they're crafted at a very high level, but they work purely as a popcorn entertainment level too. It's a crowd pleaser. Like, my mom and my dad are gonna like this movie when they see it. They're not gonna like certain things. They didn't like Birdman, but Birdman has the artistic credibility and maybe not the crowd pleasing credibility. Yes. This one has both in spades, and that's really hard to pull off.
Yeah,
and Ridley did it.
Cut to in a few months, this will be an Oscar contender that people will criticize for being too popcorn, but it really is a great movie. You know what I mean?
It's what great movies are.
Yeah, and I mean, it's between this and Mad Max for my favorite movie this year.
Yeah, it's entered my at least top 5,
right?
No question. So, and one sound design moment I wanted to point out. I really liked. There's a scene, when his airlock blows, his crops die. Mm-hmm. He has to put a tarp on it. Basically, it's a tarp and duct tape and some straps and a ratchet. Like, that's the only thing holding it down. And there's a scene, he's sitting alone, it's really windy out, and you just hear that thing flapping.
Yeah.
Really hard. It's
Right.
like, vroom,
Yeah.
vroom.
It gets
and
sucked in and then sucked out. It has a little bit of give.
And it's like, that sound design tells a story in that that's the only thing keeping him from dying right now.
Right.
Is this tarp. And
Yeah.
it just, that was just extremely well done. And I also like that Mark Watney, he's never a victim in this movie.
Yes.
That's, I think, what separates this from so many other survival movies. He is always the pragmatist who's gonna just get it done.
Right.
You know?
Things go wrong. He mourns them appropriately, and then he moves on.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And yeah, it's just, again, what really separates this from this movie, survival movies, any other movie this year, it's going to be
Right.
that central character.
Because, and really quick, like, The Gray is a great movie, but that movie, Liam Neeson's character is a constant victim of circumstance, right? Mm-hmm. And you feel like it's like almost like nature is out to just get him.
Yeah.
And this doesn't celebrate that kind of fatalism.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, The Gray is a different kind of movie, but it's a whole different mindset. And the fact that it's with every other character, it's just, I can't say enough good things.
So, and I completely agree with you. And that takes us to our final portion of this podcast, where I ask, is this movie good and does it work? And it doesn't need to be asked, because we both love this movie, and I will say that I like it. It works so well. It's a beautiful movie, and it's uplifting in a way that it truly earns. There's lots of uplifting movies, like, you know, Grease is a fucking uplifting movie, but it doesn't earn it. And Grease is Grease, and this movie is this movie. And in some ways you can't compare them, but you can, because they're both uplifting. So for this sake, in this scenario, this movie's uplifting in a way where the stakes are high, the hope's high, but no one is a victim, and everyone... It's just, I don't know. It's just a beautiful movie. It's just like, it's beautiful in that way of being a celebratory movie. Like, if you're feeling shitty, if you have a bad day, watch this movie.
The Martian's gonna pick you right up.
And you realize in your life, yeah, you could always control yourself, and you can always control your actions. And you can face things head on. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like it really is just, it's a movie that is just, I don't know.
I'm buying it the day it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I can watch it multiple times with no qualms at all.
Okay.
So yeah, this movie's terrible. Never see it.
And I agree with you. I mean, it's a movie that, you know, you'd want.
Yep.
You want it just to be around. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, it's, you know, 74-year-old Ridley just
Killing it.
doing it, man.
Potential sequel ideas? Do you have any?
Maybe Watney's class goes to Mars, and then they get stranded, and then maybe they have very tertiary contact with him, and then it's kind of, what does he teach them, and how do they apply it?
I got two ideas. One I'm going to steal from you is that his class goes out, but they go to Jupiter, so it's called The Martian 2, Jupiter Ascending. And then...
Jupiter people. What would you call somebody from Jupiter?
Jupiter Ascendings.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Woof.
Woof. The second idea I have is just a reveal in the new Prometheus movie, Alien Paradise Lost, that they're all in the same universe, that this is the same universe. Eventually, this NASA turns into the Wayland Union Company, and they go explore space. And Mark Watney is the guy they look to, like, when they head towards the stars.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. Come on, wouldn't that be cool?
What if they find out Mark Watney was the guy who created humanity?
Yeah, well...
Whoa, obviously not.
But he's the one who figured out that the engineers, you know, something.
Yep.
Predator, something alien.
Space pirate, something.
Any fan theory that you want to pose?
I mean,
I don't have...
This movie's so tight that it's hard to... Yeah.
Here's my crazy fan theory, is that Ridley Scott made Exodus, Gods, and Kings... knowing that people would be bummed on how bad Interstellar would be, knowing how good this movie was going to be, so that everyone could be like, oh man, this is great. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this movie is the classic Coke to those two movies, New Coke and Clear Pepsi.
Yep.
You know,
Crystal Pepsi.
Crystal Pepsi, excuse me. So those movies suck, and then this movie's great, and it's like, oh wow, it's you want that deep valley up to that high peak.
That's the insight you only get by being 74 years old.
Yep.
You know?
You only know that when you've been technically able to be retired for over a decade.
Yep. Great stuff.
Yep. That's it. Go see The Martian. There's nothing else to say.
Go see it on the biggest screen possible. as well,
And
in a with a fine sound setting.
And if possible, try to see it with a crowd. I think it's a great crowd movie.
It is.
Because I mean, there are people fighting back, clapping, and then we were like, no, let's just clap. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's great.
That audience was howling. We were clapping at parts. Mm-hmm. I got a clap going at one point.
Yeah, you did.
When they saved Mark, I was like,
and
no, fuck that.
Yeah.
We're clapping.
Totally great. So that's it for us. Follow us. Listen to our other episodes. We're done. See you on Mars, you old pirates.
See y'all.
So, how should I say this? Plot summary? Like, how do we usually do this?
Yeah, I think just plot summary.
Yeah.
A little plot summary here.
Listen to us Jibber Jabber on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes. Subscribe on Facebook and Twitter and SoundCloud. And, okay. Directed by Ridley Scott. Screenplay by Drew Goddard.
Drew Goddard.
With only meager supplies, he must draw upon his with only the fact the filmmakers can not depict the Are you a fan of Matt Damon? In his last few, before we get into that, hold on, let me start. Are we a fan of Matt Damon in his last few leading films? Are you a fan of Matt Damon in his last few leading man films? Wait, his last few. Last time. Are you a fan of Matt Damon